Hello and welcome to the Grand Line Review, your source for everything One Piece. My name's Liam and I don't usually power scale, but when I do, you know it's going to be something special. Although I suppose that special doesn't necessarily mean good. But it will be good because we are here today to once and for all crown our Emperor God, King, or Queen. Because today on the channel we are going to be hosting a tournament known as the Four Emperor Four-Way Death Battle, which will see our emperors stacked up in heated combat against each other to determine who is the best of the things. And it will also feature special guest participant Monkey D. Luffy because he doesn't like being left out. He gets a bit of FOMO, you see. In any case, 5 emperors are going to enter, but only 1 will leave, followed probably by the other 4. But how is such a thing going to take place? This is madness, Grand Line Review. There is no way that one man could accurately measure the power of 5 fictional pirates. And you would be right, but I am not one man. I mean, I am, but what I meant to say is that I am not alone. A while ago, I released a special survey to all of you wonderful Grand Fleet members, asking you to tell me who you think would win in a variety of 1 versus 1 matchups featuring our Emperor candidates. And almost 23,000 of you took up the challenge of answering those questions, so together we are going to go through a series of matches to determine who is the god of Emperor High School. And there are some big surprises, like holy crap, I had no idea the fanbase felt so strongly about certain matchups. So let's get into it. But first, a word from our sponsor, the subscribe button for the Grand Line Review, the pressing of which will result in consistent injections of One Piece culture administered directly into your YouTube feed. And just as a side note, do you have any idea how angry my wife will be with me when she realizes that I haven't returned the toaster to the kitchen? It'll be lots. So please do lessen the pain of my impending divorce by pressing the happy red button. Thank you, and welcome to the Grand Fleet. So just how is all of this going to work? Well, let's explain the format by examining our first round matchup, which is Luffy versus Kaido. Let the 4 Emperors 5-way death match tournament begin! So I think that I might have gone a little bit overboard there, but this is going to be fun. So I chose to showcase Luffy versus Kaido first because it's rather topical, but essentially within this survey you were given 3 outcomes for any given matchup. So for example, in this one you could choose either Luffy or Kaido to win, or you could select a tie. The winner of any given match will receive 3 points, the loser 0 points, and in the case of a tie, each combatant will receive 1 point. Then at the end we'll add all the points together and select our Emperor champion. And by the way, please do feel free to play along at home and see how many of the winners you can predict. With that in mind, let's see how you all felt about Luffy versus Kaido, and bam, it is a pretty convincing win for the Governor General of the Beast Pirates. However, the fact that Luffy is getting over 30% of the vote is massive. At this point, just under a third of the One Piece fanbase believes that Luffy can defeat Kaido one-on-one, which, look, well, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm sure we'll have an empirical conclusion one way or the other in the near future, but that is of course a full 3 points to our Victor Kaido and a full 0 points to our rubber chum. Next up into the ring we have probably our most unlikely pairing of emperors, being Big Mom versus Shanks. In fact, I can't even recall a single word they've said about each other in the series, if indeed that has happened. That does not matter though, because in the matchup of red hair versus pink hair, we have an overwhelming victory for Shanks. This result is not surprising to me, however, this statistic blows my mind. I will say right here and now that Shanks's almost 85% of the vote is the biggest landslide of the entire tournament. According to almost literally everyone, Big Mom has no chance against Shanks, a man whose abilities remain frustratingly shrouded in mystery. And to put this into some perspective, only 2,073 people thought that Big Mom would take the victory here. Still, a win is a win, and Shanks will be awarded 3 shiny points, while Charlotte Linlin will be given a Crockenbush. No points though. Making his debut in the ring now, we have the Zehaha himself, although his first opponent in this tournament is quite the tall order because it is going to be Kaido. Having already quite comfortably dispatched Luffy, will Kaido succumb to the power of Blackbeard? And the answer is no. Definitely no. In fact, Kaido's victory over Blackbeard is significantly more comfortable than Luffy, with almost 70% of people voting for the Governor General. So I do find it quite interesting that, statistically speaking, more people believe that Luffy can defeat Kaido than Blackbeard can. It makes me very eager to see the Luffy versus Blackbeard matchup, but before we get there, Kaido has achieved his 2nd win, shooting him up to the power of 6 points, whilst Blackbeard opens up his tournament career with a bit of a fail, because if we can define darkness as the absence of light, then we can define Blackbeard as the absence of points. Next, we're stepping back in time to 2018 because it is a Luffy versus Big Mom rematch. These two did briefly clash on Whole Cake Island where things went, well, they went less than well for Luffy. Said well a lot of times there. Now, to be fair, Luffy was dealing with a lot at the time, so in this day and age, can Luffy overcome this particular emperor? Well, take a look at this. In the most razor-tight results so far, the majority of the 23,000 voters have deemed Luffy as the victor of this matchup. Now, this is a massive shock to me personally, because I really don't think that I could confidently pick him as the winner at this stage, but that is completely irrelevant in this format. And I will say that this vote was decided by 490 people. That is the slim margin by which Luffy won, which is either going to be representative of the rising opinion of Luffy or potentially the decaying opinion of Big Mom. Or both. Several things can be true at the same time. In any case, our lucky Luffy is going to receive 3 full points, whilst Big Mom is going to receive some conciliatory semler. Still no points though. But I'm afraid there's no time for Charlotte Linlin to rest because she now has a back-to-back matchup against Mr. Zehaha, and this is another weird one for me. I've never really thought about these two characters interacting, although they'd probably get along quite well. They both just want to chill and eat, and maybe sometimes cause a sliver of untold hellish terror. But when thrown into glorious battle, who will prevail? And, well, it will indeed be Blackbeard who actually wins by a significantly higher margin than Luffy did, once again leading to an interesting phenomena. According to our results thus far, you guys think that Luffy has a better chance than Blackbeard of beating Kaido, whilst Blackbeard apparently has a better shot than Luffy of defeating Big Mom. So we've got some fascinating interactions here, and also of note is that Big Mom versus Blackbeard is the most sure result of any matchup in the tournament, by which I mean only 5.04% of people thought that it would end up in a tie. So 95% of fans overall feel supremely confident in regards to who would win this bout. And Big Mom's 41% is nothing to scoff at either, because that's like 10,000 people in her camp, so it was pretty close. But close is not quite good enough. So Blackbeard shall receive his first set of points, whilst Big Mom shall receive a slice of delicious wedding cake. But sadly, one of the only ingredients not baked within this wedding cake is points. Moving swiftly to a very interesting match now, we have Luffy versus Shanks, current Emperor versus future Pirate King, Mentor versus Mentee, and of course, most importantly of all, Hairy Legs versus Rubber Legs. And at this point, the results really could pan out in any direction. Luffy has 1 win and 1 loss against his fellow emperors, while Shanks does have 1 extraordinarily clear victory. But is that enough to secure this reunion rumble? Well, yes, and it's actually far more than enough. Shanks emerges victorious here with a whopping 75% of the vote. However, it should be said that most of the remaining votes went into the tie category, which earns Luffy the least amount of votes of any matchup in the tournament, with only 2,002 people believing in his ability to defeat his crimson-headed mentor. I'm really impressed with the tie percentage though, provided people weren't just being like lazy and choosing tie because they couldn't be bothered to think with their head things. This would continue to show Luffy's rising status amongst the fanbase. For example, even 3 years ago, I don't think that anywhere near 16% of people would have thought enough of Luffy to call this a tie. It's definitely impressive, but Luffy does still well and truly retain his entry-level employee status that comes with a 0-point salary, mind you, while CEO Shanks reaps all of those wonderful, fun, pointy profits. And that leaves him currently in equal first place with Kaido. And speaking of, our blue dragon now enters the ring once more to face off against our pink hag. This is Big Mom versus Kaido, one of the rare fights in this tournament that actually happened in the series and has played out to a conclusion. And whilst we didn't see most of it, the canonical conclusion was a tie. However, to be fair, this may very well be because both of them got bored and just decided to, I don't know, start banging or something. Like, there's a weird tension between Big Mom and Kaido. They've definitely done things. Like, terrible things. So how will any of this factor into our matchup? Well, it'll be mostly disregarded, holy crap, because Kaido has destroyed Charlotte Linlin in the voting here with over 75% favorability. Pretty big tie margin of 16.9 as well, to be fair, but to be even more fair, 75 is a much bigger number than 16, so a very comfortable Kaido victory here, thus making him completely undefeated to this point in the tournament and looking like a strong favorite to win. So Kaido will receive another dump dumping of 3 points, whilst Big Mom shall receive the center of a donut. Getting into some serious business now, this is the matchup I was anticipating most. Luffy versus Blackbeard. And I think this is probably the most difficult battle to call, at least for me, because they both have a wide assortment of funky power things, but they're also both generally considered to be the lower class of emperors in terms of strength. Although both of them did defeat Big Mom in this poll, so maybe we'll call Luffy and Blackbeard middle class emperors instead. And after an extraordinarily close fight, it has been determined that Blackbeard would come out on top, which I do personally disagree with, but hey, this is why I run the polls. My opinion is not always the most popular, and right now we have some Zehaha superiority in action. The margin was pretty tight though. Luffy only lost by about 850 votes, and the tie percentage was also quite high, but this does provide Blackbeard with a much needed 3 points, placing him currently on par with Mr. Shanks. And with that in mind, let's just do it. Blackbeard versus Shanks. Right now, these are the only two emperors who have any hope of preventing a Kaido victory in this here tournament, so this is a must-win fight for both of them, and it's another very tough call. I've done many videos featuring the concept of these two facing off, and the dominant belief within the fanbase is that Shanks will eventually die, and more than likely due to Blackbeard or some sort of Blackbeard-related incident. Will that show in these results, or will the one-on-one format pave Shanks' path to wonderful red-headed victory? Well, sadly for Blackbeard, I think this format very much works in favor of Shanks, who received almost 60% of the vote in this matchup. However, I think this is a bit of a misleading result because of the gigantic tie percentage. This is the biggest draw statistic we've seen so far, and having 40% of all fans believe that Blackbeard is either on par with or could even defeat Shanks is actually pretty huge. For now, I suppose Teach will just have to continue lurking in the shadows because Shanks will receive 3 more points, as well as a deluxe invitation to the finals of the 4 Emperor 5-way death battle. Let the finals begin! We have now arrived at the final and ultimate matchup of Shanks versus Kaido. Both of these combatants are undefeated in the tournament so far, quite comfortably as well. Neither of them struggled in any way against the riffraff of Luffy, Blackbeard, and Big Mom, and it does make a lot of sense. I mean, how does the old saying go? If it's one-on-one, always bet on Kaido. Meanwhile, Shanks also has an iconic quote, which is, "Oh my, what a mess." And what a mess he's in indeed. But will it be a good mess like the aftermath of a victory party? Or a bad mess like a public bathroom on a Saturday night? Shanks versus Kaido. One of these two will be crowned as our supreme leader. Who will it be? Well, drumroll please. And it is Shanks. In this poll, he came away with a very convincing almost 55% of the vote against Kaido's kind of sad looking 23%. But I do have to say this is the match that all of you were most unsure of because the tie rating was a whopping 21%. So roughly 1 in 5 Grand Fleet members were completely unsure about this outcome. But for whatever reason, enough people are confident enough in Shanks to deliver him with a shiny, shiny crown. So all hail Shanks, inheritor of wills, breaker of bandits, loser of arms, and now King of the Emperors. And if you'd like to feel like a king, then here's another video for you, Your Majesty. It's about One Piece, which is the thing that you like, because there's always more to learn, explore, and experience about this wonderful series, so I look forward to seeing you there.